Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man tabi'ahum bi ihsan ila yawm ad-din. Amma ba'du. Then we continue with Al-Qira'atu Rashida with the 19th reading, which is titled Asdiqai. Asdiqai, which is the plural Asdiqa. Asdiqa'u is the plural of Sadiq, friend. Asdiqa'u. Asdiqa'i is my friends. My friends. So the title, Asdiqa'i, means my friends. He says, Li arba'atu asdiqa'a. Hasanun wa Qasimun wa Umaru wa Muhammadun. He says, Li arba'atu asdiqa'a. Asdiqa'a, as we can see, is mamnu' min as-sarf. Does not take a tanween, and therefore when it is majroor, it does not take a kasra, it takes a fatha. So he says, Li, I have. Li, I have. Like lahu, he has. Laha, she has. Laka, you have. Li, I have. Arba'atu, I have four. Asdiqa'a, four friends. Majroor with a fatha, because it's li'annahu mamnu' min as-sarf. It doesn't take the tanween nor the kasr when it is majroor. So I have four friends. Hasanun, he begins naming them. Hasanun wa Qasimun wa Umaru wa Muhammadun. Umar is also mamnu' min as-sarf. It does not take a tanween. So when it is majroor, it's going to take a fatha. While Hasan wa Qasim wa Muhammad, then they are normal nouns that they take tanween, as is obvious here, as well as when in the position of being jar or majroor, then they take kasras. He says, Amma Hasanun فَوَلَدٌ مُهَذَّبٌ حَلِيمٌ. Amma means as for. Amma, as for. As for Hasan, فَوَلَدٌ مُهَذَّبٌ حَلِيمٌ. Fa is so, or there, right? It means something coming after. Fa, so. Waladun, he's a young, a boy, basically, a boy or a young man. Muhaddabun. Muhaddabun comes from ha, dal, ba. Ha, dal, ba. Meaning well-mannered, disciplined. Right? Muhaddabun. Like the word mu'addabun, meaning to be well-mannered. Halimun. Halimun means patient, but it also means mild and gentle. If a person is patient, then they don't, get all excited and become rough and coarse, right? Rather, they're mild and gentle. So you could choose how you want to translate it here, or you could just understand it in Arabic that he's halim, meaning he's patient, mild, gentle, right? Amma Hasanun فَوَلَدٌ مُحَذَّبٌ حَلِيمٌ. Then he's a boy who is a well-mannered, gentle boy. لا يكذب ولا يغضب. He doesn't lie and he doesn't get angry. From kadaba and ghadiba. Right? He doesn't lie. La yakdhibu wa la yaghdabu. And he doesn't become angry. No lying, no anger. أحبه لأدبه وحلمه. أحبه, I love him. أحبه لأدبه, this is li, because of, due to, أدبه, his manners, وحلمه, and his mildness or gentleness or patience, however you want to translate it. Right? And both of them are majroor after the lam. Lih. وَهُوَ رَفِيقِي, and he is my rafiq, from ra, fa, qaf, meaning my companion or my buddy, my friend. Right? Rafiq is your friend or your buddy or your companion, right? Someone you're close to. Fil madrasa, in the school. He's my buddy in the school. Wajari fil hayy, wajari, and my neighbor. Jar, neighbor. Wajari fil hayy, in the neighborhood. Hayy is a place where people live. Hayy, like the word hayy, to be alive, right? Wajari, and he's my neighbor in the neighborhood. Wasadiqi mundu arba'i sinin, and my friend mundu, since, arba'i is majroor after mundu, dharf, mudaf ilay, we say arba'i is mudaf ilay after the dharf mundu. Since arba'i sinin, since 4 years. Ama Hasanun fawaladun muhaddabun halimun. As for Hassan, then he is a well-mannered, mild boy. La yakdhibu wa la yaghdabu. He doesn't lie and he doesn't get angry. Uhibbuhu li adabihi wa hilmihi. I love him for his manners and his gentleness or patience or mildness. وَهُوَ رَفِيقِي فِي الْمَدْرَسَةِ, he's my companion in school. وَجَارِي فِي الْحَيِّ, and my neighbor in the neighborhood. وَالصَّدِيقِ مُنْذُ أَرْبَعِ سِنِينَ, and my friend since 4 years. He says, وَهُوَ يَسْكُنُ فِي حَيِّنَا من سنين. وهو يسكن في حينا من سنين, and he يسكن, سكن يسكن, to live, to have a second, to have a place where they live. في حينا, this is our neighborhood again. He lives in our neighborhood. من سنين, from years, meaning since years. Min here with the meaning of mundo, right? Since years. وهو يسكن في حينا من سنين, and he lives in our neighborhood since years. وبيته قريب من بيتي. وبيته, and his house, قريب is close, من بيتي, to my house. We say close from my house, but really close to my house in English. وَلَيْسَ بَيْنَ بُيُوتِنَا إِلَّا بَيْتٌ وَاحِدٌ. وَلَيْسَ, and there is not, بَيْنَ, between, بُيُوتِنَا, بَيْنَ is a dharf, meaning the noun following it is majroor mudaf ilay. بَيْنَ بُيُوتِنَا, buyut is the plural of bayt. لَيْسَ بَيْنَ بُيُوتِنَا, there is not between our houses, illa, except, baytun wahidun, one house. One house. In our last reading, we talked about the word bayt because it was a line of poetry, and we said that its plural was abyat. right? The same word bait became abyat, 4 lines of poetry. But here, bait for house becomes buyut. ولم نتخاصم في هذه المدة مع أن نسكن في حي واحد ونقرأ في صف واحد ونذهب جميعا إلى المدرسة ونرجع جميعا. He says ولم, and lam is a negation of the past tense using a present tense verb. We've spoken about this before. We have, for instance, ما ذهب. ذهب is he went. ما ذهب, he didn't go. This is past tense. لا يذهب, right? لا يذهب. يذهب, meaning he is not going, meaning right now he's not going, right? Doesn't negate that he won't go, the future, but right now he's not going, right? La yaktubu, for instance, he's not writing. Right now his pencil's down, he's not writing, right? Then we have lan yadhabu, or lan yadhaba. Lan yadhaba. Lan negates the future. He is not going. He will not be going. Lan yadhabu, he will not go. So ma dhahaba, he didn't go. La yadhabu, he's not going, meaning right now. Lan yadhaba, and because of lan it becomes mansoob here. He will not be going. He is not going in the future. Then we have lam. Lam yadhabu, or lam yadhab, it becomes with a sukoon here. Lam yadhab, right? Then this negates the past, but using a present tense verb, as we can see here, right? So ma dhahaba, he didn't go. La yadhabu, he's not going right now. Lan yadhaba, he won't be going. And lam yadhab, he didn't go. These two are basically the same, although ma dhahaba is a stronger. Lam yadhab might mean he didn't leave or he didn't go yet, right? Whereas ma dhahaba is he didn't go, period. You understand? Although in general they mean the same. But if you want to get technical, then ma dhahaba and lam yadhhab is a stronger form here, right? It's a stronger form. So he says, lam natakhasam, from kha sad meen, meaning to argue. Natakhasam, takhasama, natakhasamu, right? But it's majzoom after lam. As we can see over here, it has a sukoon, it's majzoom, right? Lam natakhasam, we didn't argue. We didn't argue. في هذه المدة, as we can see, like we didn't argue yet, possibly, right? في هذه المدة, in this period. Mudda is like a time period. In this period of time, arba sinin, right? They've been friends for 4 years. ولم نتخاصم في هذه المدة, and we didn't argue in this period. Ma'a, meaning along with, anna, verily we, naskunu fi hayyin wahid, we live in one neighborhood. Wa naqra'u fi saffin wahid, and we read. Naqra'u, we read. Fi saffin wahidin, in one grade, in one class maybe, right? But meaning one level, one grade. وَنَذْهَبُ جَمِيعًا, and we go together. How do we go? جَمِيعًا, this is the hal. It is mansoob, it is accusative as the condition. How do we go? We go together. إِلَى الْمَدْرَسَةِ, to the school. وَنَرْجِعُ جَمِيعًا, and we return together. Same thing. Due to the hal, it is mansoob. Right? So he's saying, we've never argued. وَلَمْ نَتَخَاصَمْ, we've never argued. فِي هَذِهِ الْمُدَّةِ, in this period. أَرْبَعَ سِنِينَ. مَعَ, this ma means along with. Meaning, and with that. We've never argued with the fact أَنَّ, that we, indeed we, or that we, نَسْكُنُ فِي حَيٍّ وَاحِدٍ, along with the fact that we live in one neighborhood. وَنَقْرَأُ فِي صَفٍّ وَاحِدٍ, and we read in one grade, one level. وَنَذْهَبُ جَمِيعًا إِلَى الْمَدْرَسَةِ, and we go together to school. وَنَرْجِعُ جَمِيعًا, and we return together. Most people, when they spend that much time, they're going to argue. But as for him and Hassan, we don't know this person's name. As for him and Hassan, then لَمْ نَتَخَاصَمْ, لَمْ يَتَخَاصَمْ, they didn't argue. And this verb, takhasam, has the idea of between one another. Not just one saying something to the other or the other one saying something, but rather going back and forth. It has the meaning of back and forth. Lam natakhasam. We didn't argue with one another. So we would say with one another because of the form of the verb here being, meaning that it is reciprocated between one and the other. It goes back and forth between one and the other. So we didn't argue with one another. Not that we didn't argue, but we didn't argue with one another. في هذه المدة مع أن نسكن في حي واحد ونقرأ في صف واحد ونذهب جميعا إلى المدرسة ونرجع جميعا وقد تخاصم كثير من الأصدقاء وأرى كل يوم بعض الأولاد يتخاصمون. He says here, after explaining all of that they live together and go to school together and same class together, same level, same grade. They come home together, live one house apart. There's just one house in between their houses. Laysa bayna buyutina, there's not between our houses. Illa baytun wahidin, except one house. Baytun wahidun, except one house. Right? And all that, وَلَمْ نَتَخَاصَمْ, we didn't argue. وَقَدْ تَخَاصَمَ, and this qad here is just emphasis. تَخَاصَمَ, as we said, has the meaning of arguing between one another. And قَدْ تَخَاصَمَ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ الْأَصْدِقَاءِ, and many of the friends have argued with one another. Now I want to point a thing out, two things. Number one, takhasama here is singular, right? Even though kathir is plural. That's because when we start with the verb, then the verb is going to be singular, right? The verb is going to be singular even if the fa'il, the doer, is plural. If we start with the verb. But if we said kathirun yatakhasamuna, we would use the plural like we find here. Many argue, we would use the plural. But because we're using the verb first, then we use the singular. The second thing I want to point out here is asdiqai here has taken a kasra. And I said that it's mamnu' min as-sarf. It doesn't take a kasra when it's majroor. And it's majroor here after min. So why did it take a kasra when up above I said it doesn't take a kasra? And that is because whenever you enter alif lam onto a noun, which is mamnu' min as-sarf, then we treat it like every other noun. So when we enter that alif lam on it, it can become majroor. Just like in asdiqai above. Scroll up. That kasra has taken a, or the hamza has taken a kasra when I said it doesn't take it. But why did it take it? Because of the ya, right? When we put the alif lam on it, as we did below, then we're going to treat it like every other noun. So for instance, Omar, we said, right, if this was for instance min Omar, right, then we would say min Omara. But if for some reason, just as an example, it's from the Omar, we say min al Omari, because we added that alif lam. Inshallah ta'ala we'll have more examples of this in the future. Maybe the third thing I should mention is this fatha is there for reading purposes, because min has a sukoon on it, and then this lam has a sukoon, and we can't have two sukoons next to each other, so we put that fatha there for reading purposes. وَقَدْ تَخَاصَمَ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ الْأَصْدِقَاءِ, and many friends have indeed argued. وَأَرَى, and I see, kulla yawmin, I see every day. When do I see it? Kulla, as we said, this time when we talk about al-yawm and stuff like this, when we're talking about the time, is going to be mansub. Ara kulla yawmin. Yawm is majroor after kull. Mudaf ilay, right? Wa ara kulla yawmin, and I see every day ba'da. What do I see? I see ba'd. Maf'ulun bihi mansub. It's the object of the verb. I see some ba'd al-awladi, some of the children. Some of the children. Right? Awlad, the plural of walad. Yatakhasamun, arguing. Every day I see some of the kids arguing. وَيُحِبُّ أَبِي وَأُمِّي حَسَنًا. Here we see Abi, my father, wa ummi, my mother, being two, yet we used the singular verb again. Wa yuhibbu Abi wa ummi, and my father and my mother love Hasanan. Who do they love? They love Hasan. Maf'ulun bihi mansub. Wa yafrahani bi rifaqatihi. Wa yafrahani. Here, ummi wa Abi. Abi wa Ummi are two. Yafrahani, this is the dual of yafrahu, to be happy, from faraha, faraha, farhan. Yafrahani, they are happy. Bi rifaqatihi, with his company. They are happy with his company or companionship. Rifaqatihi, rifaqa, right? Rifaqa could be his company or his companionship. Now, this shows us that when we start with a verb, we start with the singular. But if another verb comes, then we go back to the proper plural or singular or dual form of it. Right? So we might start with, we have two people here being the fa'il, the doers, Abi wa Ummi, my father and my mother. But since we started the verb, we started with the singular. But now we're going to go to the dual because there's a new verb introduced. Right? وَيُحِبُّ أَبِي وَأُمِّي حَسَنًا وَيَفْرَحَانِ بِرِفَاقَتِهِ. And they are happy with his My father and my mother love Hassan, and they're happy with his companionship or with his company. لأنه ولد لأن because he ولد is a child or a boy. ليس فيه شر. ليس, there is not. It is not. It's a negation. فيه شر, in him, شر, evil. There's no evil in him. ويحبني أبو حسن. Abu Hassan. Abu is the fa'il with this wow here, right? Abu with this wow, the fa'il. Hassan, Abu Hassan, mudaf ilayh. That's why Hassan is majroor. Abu Hassan loves me. Yuhibbuni. Abu Hassan loves me. وَيَرَانِي, and he sees me. He sees me. Yara was originally yara, but when we added this noon, ya for me, then this ya here, this alif maksura became an alif. وَيَرَانِي كَوَلَدِهِ, he sees me like كَوَلَدِهِ, like his son, like his boy, his child. He says, أما قاسم, as for Qasim, فولد ذكي نشيط, then he is a boy, a child, young man, however you want to translate it. ذكي, from the kaf ya, meaning intelligent. Nashitun, from noon sheen ta, meaning aware, attentive, with energy. Huwa fawaladun dhakiyun nashitun, then he is a intelligent, attentive young man. Tarahu da'iman masruran. Tarahu, you see him, as we said earlier. We had the word ara, I see, right? Ara kulla yawmin, right? Ba'dul awladi yatakhasamuna, I see every day, right? Ara, we had yara become yarani. Here we have tara become tara with an alif. When we added that pronoun who, it became an alif. That ya alif maksura became just an alif. Tarahu, you see him. Da'iman, always. Masruran, and this is another type. Whenever they add that alif at the end, they usually make this mistake. It should just be fatatain. Masruran, similar to farhan, happy, from sin ra. Masrur, meaning happy. Ana masrurun biliqa'ika, I am happy with you, meeting you, with the meeting of you, right? Da'iman, masruran, he is always. You see him what? Da'iman, always. Masruran, you see him always happy. La adhkuru. Adhkuru, from dal qaf ra. Dhakara, to remember. La adhkuru, I don't remember. Adhkuru would be the present tense. I remember. La adhkuru, I don't remember. Anni, that I. Ra'aytuhu, I saw him. Qat. Qat here means like ever. Like I never saw him. I don't remember that I ever saw him. Ra'aytuhu qat, like ever. Mahzunan, from ha, zay, noon, from huzn, sad. La adhkuru, I don't remember. Anni, that I. Ra'aytuhu qat, that I ever saw him. Mahzunan, I never saw him sad. Wa huwa, And he is ذو أخبار. ذو is possessor. We may not translate it like that in English, but we'll get to the meaning in a second. وهو ذو, and he is ذو أخبار. أخبار means like news. وحكايات, and ذو حكايات. Hikayat is the plural of hikaya, right? Hikaya, meaning stories. He is the possessor of news and stories. I mean, he got lots of tales. He got lots of stories to tell. He knows what's going on. He got lots of stories, right? Yasurru asdiqa'ahu. Yasurru from the word masrur, meaning he makes happy. Asdiqa'ahu. Who does he make happy? Asdiqa'ahu. It's mansub, maf'ulun bihi. It's accusative, the object of the verb. He makes his friends happy. Bi ahadithihi. Ahadith is the plural of hadith. Like we have a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, meaning a narration from him. Yasuru asdiqa'ahu bi ahadithihi. Right? He makes his friends happy with his narrations. لأنه ذو أخبار وحكايات. He is a possessor of news and stories. يسر أصدقاءه بأحاديثه وحكاياته, with his narrations, وحكاياته, and his stories. ويحبه أصدقاؤه. أصدقاؤه is marfu here. It's the fa'il, the doer. Right? It's nominative. It's the doer. It's marfu fa'il. His friends, yuhibbuhu. Here's another example of asdiqa being plural, wa yuhibbu being singular, because we started with the verb. Wa yuhibbuhu asdiqa'uhu, and his friends love him. Wa huwa mujtahidun, and he is hardworking. Fid durusi, in the lessons and studying. Lam yarsub fi imtihan. Lam here is again a negation of the past tense using a present tense verb. Yarsub from ra sin ba, meaning to fail or to flunk. Lam yarsub, he never failed or never flunked. Fi imtihanin, in a test. From mim ha nun. He never flunked in a test, ever. أما قاسم فولد ذكي نشيط. As for Qasim, then he is a intelligent, attentive young man, alert young man. تراه دائما مسرورا. You see him always happy. لا أذكر أني رأيته قط محزونا. I don't remember that I ever saw him sad. وهو ذو أخبار وحكاية, and he is a person with news and stories. يسر أصدقاءه بأحاديثه وحكاياته. He makes his friends happy with his narrations and his stories. ويحبه أصدقاؤه, and his friends love him. وهو مجتهد في الدروس, and he is hard working in the lessons. لم يرسب في امتحان. He never failed or flunked an exam. أما عمر, as for Umar, فولد يتيم, then he is an orphan child. فولد, he is a child or a boy. Yatim, an orphan. يسكن في حينا أيضا. يسكن, he lives. في حينا, in our neighborhood. أيضا, also. أيضا is also. أمه, his mother. عجوز. عجوز meaning an old woman, or meaning a woman who's not married, right? عجوز. تكتسب بالخياطة. تكتسب from كاف سين باء. اكتسب, and we find this at the end of Baqarah. اكتسب, here's the feminine form. تكتسب meaning she earns. اكتسب is to earn. تكتسب, she earns. بالخياطة. الخياطة from خياطة, which is seen. I don't know the right word in English. Seamstressing or whatever, being someone who sews stuff, right? Who hems garments and makes garments. She's a seamstress. Bil khayatati, by being a seamstress, basically. I don't know the proper word in English for khayata, right? By sewing things, right? وَتُنْفِقُ عَلَى وَلَدِهَا. وَتُنْفِقُ from nun, fa, qaf, meaning to spend. وَتُنْفِقُ عَلَى وَلَدِهَا. And she spends, this is form 4, أنفق تنفق, right? تنفق على ولدها. Nun, fa, qaf, form 4, right? تنفق على ولدها. She spends on her son, her child. ولكن عمر, but Omar, and Omar is mansub, accusative after lakinna, from the sisters of Inna. Omara waladun kabiru an-nafsi. But Omar, waladun, is a boy or a child, kabirun nafsi. Kabirun nafsi is like big in self. Big in self, maybe that would be a verbatim translation. But it means high-minded or proud. He's big in himself. He's proud. Right? He's proud. Not like arrogant. He's proud. لا يقبل منها شيئا. لا يقبل from قاف با lam. He doesn't accept منها from her شيئا. Except what? شيئا مفعول به منصوب. ولكن عمر ولد كبير النفس لا يقبل منها شيئا. But Omar is a proud boy, a proud child, proud young man. He doesn't accept anything from her. ثيابه رخيصة. His clothes, ثيابه, the plural of thob, one garment, ثياب, multiple garments. رخيصة, because it is plural and it is غير عاقل, non-intellectual item. We talk about it in the feminine singular. ثيابه رخيصة. ولكنها, but they are always. ولكنها, but they are. ولكن, but they. Because we're talking about thiyab. We talk about it in the feminine singular. لكنها, but they are دائما, always. نظيفة, from nun, la, fa. They are always clean. يحبه جميع المعلمين. جميع, as we see, is again a plural. And it's marfu', so it's the file. جميع المعلمين, all of the teachers. معلمين. مضاف مضاف إليه. يحبه, we see that we started with the verb and it's singular. يحبه جميع المعلمين, all of the teachers, the معلمين, they love him. لصلاحه وأدبه واجتهاده ومواظبته. Li, due to, salahihi. Salah from Sad Lam Ha here meaning his proper conduct, his good nature, his good behavior. Wa adabihi, and his manners. Wajtihadihi, and his efforts and his striving that he puts forth. Wa mu'adhabatihi, and his mu'adhabatihi from waw dha ba, meaning his perseverance. Muwadhaba is his perseverance, his diligence. Yuhibbuhu jami' al-mu'allimin, all of the teachers love him. Li salahihi, due to his good manners. Wa adab, his good conduct. Wa adabihi, and his manners. Wa ijtihadihi, and his efforts. Wa muwadhabatihi, and his perseverance. He says, وَلَمْ يَرْسُبْ عُمَرُ فِي الْإِمْتِحَانِ إِلَّا مَرَّةً وَحَزِنَ كَثِيرًا. وَلَمْ يَرْسُبْ, لَمْ يَرْسُبْ, again, rasaba meaning to fail or flunk. Here, لَمْ يَرْسُبْ, it's majzoom after the lam. It's negating the past tense using a present tense verb. وَلَمْ يَرْسُبْ, and he never failed. Omar never failed. He's the file here. Fil imtihan, in the test, in the exam. Illa, except. Marratan, except once. Except once. Marratan, except one time. Wahazina kathiran, right? Wahazina, and he was sad. Kathiran, a lot. He was very sad. Wahazinat ummuhu, and his mother was sad. Ummu, showing that she's the file. His mother was sad. Lamma, when. Lamma means when. Rasaba Umaru, when Omar, the file, when he failed. Fil imtihan, in the test. Wa arada Umaru, and Omar, again the file, and Omar wanted, from arada yuridu, from ra, waw, dal. This is form 4 though. From, you look it up under ra, waw, dal. Arada Umaru, Omar wanted, and yatruka, to leave, and yatruka, it's mansub after an. Omar wanted to leave al-madrasa. To leave what? Al-madrasa, maf'ulun bihi mansub, the object of the verb accusative. وَلَمْ يَرْسُبْ عُمَرُ فِي الْإِمْتِحَانِ إِلَّا مَرَّةً, and Omar didn't fail the exam except once. وَحَزِنَ كَثِيرًا, and he was very sad. وَحَزِنَتْ أُمُّهُ لَمَّا رَسَبَ عُمَرُ فِي الْإِمْتِحَانِ, and his mother was sad when he failed or flunked, when Omar flunked the exam. وَأَرَادَ عُمَرُ أَنْ يَتْرُكَ الْمَدْرَسَةَ, and Omar wanted to leave the school. وَلَكِنْ, but, شَجَّعَتْهُ أُمُّهُ وَقَالَتْ, شَجَّعَتْ, from sheen, jim, ayn, form 2. شَجَّعَتْ, because it's the is the file, she's the one doing it, so the verb is feminine because she's the one doing it. شَجَّعَتْهُ, she encouraged him. شَجَّعَ is to encourage. شَجَّعَتْهُ أُمُّهُ, his mother encouraged him. وَقَالَتْ, and she said, أَنَا أَكْتَسِبُ بِالْخِيَاطَةِ وَأُنْفِقُ عَلَيْكَ. She says, I أَكْتَسِبُ, I earn, بِالْخِيَاطَةِ, with this being a tailor, right? With tailoring, I guess that's the proper word I was looking for earlier. With tailoring. وَأُنْفِقُ عَلَيْكَ, and I spend upon you. Right? So she's saying, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna earn and do this. I'm gonna spend upon you, but you need to go to school. وَرَجَعَ عُمَرُ إِلَى الْمَدْرَسَةِ And Omar returned. Omar is the fa'il. Omar returned. إِلَى الْمَدْرَسَةِ To the madrasa. Madrasati is majroor after ila, the harf jar, the preposition. وَاجْتَهَدَ And he put in an effort. He worked hard. كَثِيرًا A lot. He put in a lot of effort. He worked very hard. وَنَجَحَ From noon, jim, ha And he succeeded. Fil imtihan Or he passed. He was successful. Fil imtihan Fi sanat thaniyati In the second year. In the imtihan, in the test, in the second year. Right? He succeeded in the test in the fi sanat thaniya in the second year. Second time taking that grade. Basically flunked a grade. وَبَرَّزَ fil imtihan Barraza from ba ra zay. This is form 2. Form 2 meaning to excel. وَبَرَّزَ fil imtihan And he excelled in the exam. He did really well. أما محمد فالتلميذ نجيب مجتهد جدا As for Muhammad, فَتِلْمِيذٌ Then he is a student. Before all the other ones he said فَوَلَدٌ Here he says فَتِلْمِيذٌ He is a student. نَجِيبٌ Najib from noon, jim, ba. It could mean from noble descent. But here it probably means distinguished. Right? Someone distinguished. Meaning he's a very good student. Mujtahidun jiddan Very hard working. يبرز في الامتحان كل سنة يبرز The same as from barraza. Barraza up here is the past tense. يبرز is the present tense of form 2. He excels fil imtihani in the exam كل سنة When? Every year. Right? He excels in the exam every year. وولد كاتب جيد الخط And he's a boy, he's a young man, a child, katib, who writes, a scribe, right? He writes. He's a writer. Jayyidul khatti, with good handwriting. Jayyid, good, and khat is the handwriting. Jayyidul khatti. Wa waladun katibun jayyidul khatti. A boy is a boy who writes, a writing young boy with good handwriting, right? Ya'rifu kitabata ar-rasail. Ya'rifu, he knows kitabata ar-rasail. He knows how to write letters. It's not an easy thing to just write a letter, to write a proper letter with good introductions and good opening remarks and closing remarks. It's not easy. وَيَعْرِفُ كِتَابَ What does he know? كِتَابَةَ مَفْعُولُ بِهِ mansub, object of the verb, accusative. Rasail, the plural of risala. Risala. He knows how to write letters. وَهُوَ مُتَقَدِّمٌ فِي الصَّفِّ And he is, وَهُوَ And he is مُتَقَدِّم from qaf, dal, mim. Meaning he is advanced. He is forward. The saf in the class. He's ahead. He's forward. He's advanced. The saf in the class. Wa mu'adhibun from the word we had up there before. Right? We had this word before when we were talking about Omar. Now we're talking about Muhammad. وَهُوَ مُعَذِّبٌ عَلَى الدَّرْسِ He is diligent, persevering in the dars. وَجَمِيعُ أَصْدِقَائِي مُحَافِظُونَ عَلَى الصَّلَوَاتِ Here he starts talking about all of his friends again. Everyone, he talked about them individually. Here he says وَجَمِيعُ أصدقائي, and all of my friends, محافظون, from ha, fa, fa, va, meaning to preserve or to guard and protect, ala salawat. They are consistent, they are protecting, they are guarding their prayers, the prayers. Right? They're diligent upon the prayers. Mu'adhibuna ala durus, diligent in lessons. Right? Walam natakhasam qat. Walam naghdab. Walam natakhasam, and we never argued with one another. Ever. Qat. Ever. Walam naghdab, and we didn't get angry. Wa arju, and I hope, from Raja, Ra, Jim, Alif Maksura, wa arju, and I hope, ala. Ala is a conjunction between an and la. That, and then la is a negation, and we'll translate it in a minute. And la akuna, right? This la here makes the verb after it mansub. Akunu becomes akuna. Akuna, that I am. Akuna, I am. An akuna, that I am. And la akuna, that I am not. This la here makes it a negation. That I am not. That I am not what? Shar al-asdiqai. That I am the most evil of the friends. That I am the worst of the friends. Wa arju, and I hope, ala akuna shar al-asdiqai, and I hope that I am not the worst of friends. That I'm not the worst, basically, of the friends, right? He doesn't want to be the worst of them. We'll read it again without the explanations, inshallah ta'ala, and we'll conclude with that. Hopefully it's been clear. He says, asdiqai, my friends. Li arba'atu asdiqa'a. I have 4 friends. Hassan, wa Qasim, wa Umar, wa Muhammad. Hassan and Qasim and Umar and Muhammad. Amma Hassanun fa waladun muhadhabun halimun. As for Hassan, then he is a well-mannered, gentle boy, gentle child. La yakdhibu wa la yaghdabu. He doesn't lie and he doesn't get angry. Uhibbuhu li adabihi wa hilmihi. I love him for his manners and his mildness or gentleness, patience. وهو رفيقي في المدرسة. He's my companion, and he's my companion in school. وجاري في الحي, and my neighbor in the neighborhood. وصديقي منذ 4 سنين, and my friend since 4 years. وهو يسكن في حينا من سنين, and he lives in our neighborhood from years, since years. وبيته قريب من بيتي, and his house is close to my house. وَلَيْسَ بَيْنَ بُيُوتِنَا إِلَّا بَيْتٌ وَاحِدٌ, and there's not in between our houses except one house. وَلَمْ نَتَخَاصَمْ فِي هَذِهِ الْمُدَّةِ, and we've never argued with one another in this time. مَعَ أَنَّ نَسْكُنُ فِي حَيٍّ وَاحِدٍ, along with the fact that we live in one neighborhood. وَنَقْرَأُ فِي صَفٍّ وَاحِدٍ, and we read in one level, one grade. وَنَذْهَبُ جَمِيعًا إِلَى الْمَدْرَسَةِ, and we go together to school. وَنَرْجِعُ جَمِيعًا, and we return home. وَقَدْ تَخَاصَمَ كَثِيرٌ مِنَ الْأَصْدِقَاءِ, and many friends they argue with one another. وَأَرَى كُلَّ يَوْمٍ بَعْدَ الْأَوْلَادِ يَتَخَاصَمُونَ, and I see every day some children arguing. وَيُحِبُّ أَبِي وَأُمِّي حَسَنًا وَيَفْرَحَانِ بِرِفَاقَتِهِ, and my mother and my father, they love Hassan, and they're very happy with his companionship. لِأَنَّهُ وَلَدٌ لَيْسَ فِيهِ شَرٌّ, because he's a boy, there's not in him any evil. وَيُحِبُّنِي أَبُو حَسَنٍ وَيَرَانِي كَوَلَدِهِ, and Abu Hassan loves me, and he sees me like one of his children. أما قاسم As for Qasim, فَوَلَدٌ ذَكِيٌّ نَشِيطٌ, then he is a intelligent, alert, attentive young man with energy, an energetic young man. تَرَاهُ دَائِمًا مَسْرُورًا, you see him always happy. لَا أَذْكُرُ أَنِّي رَأَيْتُهُ قَطْ مَحْزُونًا, I don't remember that I ever saw him sad. وَهُوَ ذُو أَخْبَارٍ وَحِكَايَةٍ, and he's a person of he's a person of story of news and stories. يَسُرُّ أَصْدِقَاءَهُ بِأَحَادِيثِهِ وَحِكَايَاتِهِ, he makes his friends happy with his narrations and his stories. وَيُحِبُّهُ أَصْدِقَاؤُهُ, and his friends love him. وَهُوَ مُجْتَهِدٌ فِي الدُّرُوسِ, and he's hard working in the lessons. لَمْ يَرْسُبْ فِي امْتِحَانٍ, he's never failed in a test. أَمَا عُمَرْ, as for Omar, فَوَلَدٌ يَتِيمٌ, then he is an orphan boy. يَسْكُنُ فِي حَيِّنَا أَيْضًا, he lives in our neighborhood also. أُمُّهُ عَجُوزٌ, his mother is older. تَكْتَسِبُ بِالْخِيَاطَةِ, she earns through tailoring. وَتُنْفِقُ عَلَى وَلَدِهَا, and she spends on her son. وَلَكِنَّ عُمَرَ وَلَدٌ كَبِيرُ النَّفْسِ لَا يَقْبَلُ مِنْهَا شَيْئًا, but Omar is a child who is proud, a proud child. He doesn't accept anything from her. ثِيَابُهُ رَخِيصَةٌ لَكِنَّهَا دَائِمًا نَظِيفَةٌ, his clothes are cheap, but they're always clean. يُحِبُّهُ جَمِيعُ الْمُعَلِّمِينَ, all of the teachers love him. لِصَلَاحِهِ وَأَدَبِهِ وَاجْتِهَادِهِ وَمُوَاظَبَاتِهِ, all of his teachers love him due to his good conduct and his manners and his hard work and his diligence. وَلَمْ يَرْسُبْ عُمَرُ فِي الْإِمْتِحَانِ إِلَّا مَرَّةً, and Omar, he didn't fail a test except once. وَحَزِنَ كَثِيرًا, and he was very sad. وَحَزِنَتْ أُمُّهُ, and his mother was sad. لَمَّا رَسَبَ عُمَرُ فِي الْإِمْتِحَانِ, when Omar failed in the test. وَأَرَادَ عُمَرُ أَنْ يَتْرُكَ الْمَدْرَسَةَ, and Omar wanted to leave the school. وَلَكِنْ شَجَّعَتْهُ أُمُّهُ, but his mother encouraged him. وَقَالَتْ, and she said, أَنَا أَكْتَسِبُ بِالْخِيَاطَةِ وَأُنْفِقُ عَلَيْكَ, I am going to earn with tailoring and spend upon you. وَرَجَعَ عُمَرُ إِلَى الْمَدْرَسَةِ وَاجْتَهَدَ كَثِيرًا, and Omar returned to school and he worked hard, very, very hard. وَنَجَحَ فِي الْإِمْتِحَانِ فِي سَنَةِ الثَّانِيَةِ, and he succeeded in the test the second year. وَبَرَّزَ فِي الْإِمْتِحَانِ, and he excelled in the test. أَمَّا مُحَمَّدٌ, as for Muhammad, فَتِلْمِيذٌ نَجِيبٌ مُجْتَهِدٌ جِدٌّ, then he is a distinguished, hard-working student. يُبَرِّزُ فِي الْإِمْتِحَانِ كُلَّ سَنَةٍ, he excels in the test every year. وَوَلَدٌ كَاتِبٌ جَيِّدُ الْخَطِّ, and he's a boy who's a writer with good handwriting. يَعْرِفُ كِتَابَةَ الرَّسَائِلِ, he knows how to write letters. وَهُوَ مُتَقَدِّمٌ فِي الصَّفِّ, and he is advanced in the class. وَمُعَذِّبٌ عَلَى الدُّرُوسِ, and diligent in the lesson, or على الدرس, on the lesson, diligent in the lesson. وَجَمِيعُ أَصْدِقَائِي مُحَافِظُونَ عَلَى الصَّلَوَاتِ, and all of my friends, they guard and protect the prayers. مُعَذِّبُونَ عَلى الدُّرُوسِ, diligent in the lessons. وَلَمْ نَتَخَاصَمْ قَطْ وَلَمْ نَغْضَبْ, and we never argue with one another and we never get angry. وَأَرْجُو أَلَا أَكُونَ شَرَّ الْأَصْدِقَاءِ, and I hope that I am not the worst or the most evil of the companions. Shar is like the word khair, which we explained. For instance, we have the word Hasan becomes, if I put my little lines there, becomes ahsan when we want the superlative form of it, right? Azim becomes a'zam. Kabir becomes akbar, right? Shar stays shar, just like khair stays khair. Now, you can have asharru and akhyaru and stuff like this, but it is many times used as the superlative in and of itself. So, ala akuna shar al-asdiqa, that I be what? Shar al-asdiqa, the most or the worst of the companions. Inshallah, this lesson was clear and beneficial. Maybe you could write something about your friends. As always, you can comment in the comments below if you have any questions, and it'll reach me, or you can contact me on the email or the WhatsApp number that I have put down many times before. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.